So just to give a brief introduction of all the speakers, I'll start with Carlo van Driel. So Carlo is a CEO and boss, and who is also a facilitator and business development, human resources, and recruitment. He also is a speaker, an agile coach, scrum master, and last but not the least, a context-driven tester. That was a very brief introduction of Carlo. Moving to Bas Kruip now. Bas is a curious, open, and outspoken and impatient person. He daydreams past every final frontier. He is also a go-getter until the end. Professionally, he is a test engineer, coach, and always likes to return to a stage, and also likes narrative. He is also a language purist, humorous, and crazy about how it feels, and hopelessly in love with Scrum. Talking about Kyle. Kyle is the CEO of Brightest. He is energetic, loyal, and hardworking Canadian from Winnipeg. After completing his bachelor's degree at the University of Manitoba in German literature and mathematics, Kyle moved to Berlin in 2006 with a DAAD scholarship and got his master's in communication languages. So after working for several years at various agencies, Kyle stumbled upon an incredible path which led to where he is today, the CEO of a global exam provider called Brightest. So in this webinar, you can expect the following points on which the presenters would be talking upon. First thing is a brief introduction about Agile United CPAT. What is CPAT? An introduction of the CPAT course. People should also get an impression of why this course was developed and what it will bring to them. So some of the points here are what is the core of testing, a short introduction of what is testing. People will also gain a core overview of business of testing. Second, what is agile development, an introduction of agile development, the viewers understanding of the basics of agility, and finally, what does testing in a context mean? The takeaway here is that the viewers will have an understanding of the extensiveness of all job components concerning testing in an agile context as opposed to a waterfall context. And also, last but not the least, an introduction and an overview of what Brightest is and what it does. So without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Carlo. Carlo, you can proceed, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Practioner, for this introduction. We will start with the introduction to CPAT. First of all, in the past, we have a lot of certified testing trainings like AU-CPAT, certified Agile Testing training, but something was missing because they are basically theoretical trainings on test techniques, which you do need also in the Agile environment. And there's a lot of basic trainings about Agile, but then the situation appeared that the CAT training no longer exists. So we are missing something that's specifically targeted to testing in an Agile environment. So that brought us to the idea to create the course ourselves. And also the current trainings are missing the practical part. It's a lot of theory, and we're missing the practical part of testing in the training. So that made us create a new training which consists of not only on what and how, so that helps you to actually not have the theory only, but also practice everything. So it's not just telling you what to do, but also what to do and how to do it. And a lot of trainings at the moment are still focused on all testing techniques coming from the waterfall. Work in an Agile environment, because that asks for newer and better techniques. So how does this look in real life? I will switch to my screen. So I would see me now probably. So we figured out that for testing in an agile environment, you need very specific skills. And I will draw one. The first one that's really important are people skills. So you just don't need only test skills, you need people skills as well in an agile environment. Because we're working with a small team, and it means you need to have the ability to have special skills like asking questions. As a tester, it's really important that you have to know how to ask good questions. Because a lot of things are not clear at first hand, so you must be able to ask good questions. We will teach you that in training.
Hello, Carl, sorry to disturb you. We got the info that the screen isn't visible because it's showing like your display picture and not the full screen.
Yes. So in that, so what we need to do is, if you see above, there's a view active cameras. There's an option where you can click on when viewing everyone. So you need to click on view active cameras, and Carlo's screen would be maximized.
Okay.
Yeah. Great. So the next one is feedback. As a tester, you can
Professor, thanks.
Yeah. Please go ahead, Carlo.
Yeah. So you need to give feedback, ask questions, give feedback, and not only about the product, but also about the process and about your teammates as well. So that means that you need specific skills in order to do that in a good way. Also, you need to have critical thinking skills. As a tester, you need to be critical on everything in the project. Usually, other people don't have this critical mindset, so it's very important for a tester to have a critical mindset. And we will teach you how to, well, not to have it because you have it or you don't, but you can train it. Last but not least, very important one, storytelling skills. As a tester, you no longer produce very big reports, so you need to report in a different way by telling the testing story to your product owner or to your customers. What have you done? Why have you done it? So that's really important skill as well. Then the next big group of skills that we will train you are agile skills. Of course, as an agile tester in an agile environment, you need to know about agile. So we will teach you something about agile mindset. But agile is not a trick; it's a mindset. So we'll teach you about that. Next, we will also teach you something about the history of agile. So, very important, because that's the basic ideas behind agile. You need to be familiar with that in order to understand the agile mindset. Of course, we will teach you something about Scrum. It's not Scrum, of course. Scrum is the most used framework within Agile, so we'll work through the basic things from Scrum as well in training. The third important group of things, of course, are test skills. Of course, you still need test skills, but in a different way, because you're working in an Agile environment with very fast deliveries, maybe every week or every 2 weeks, or maybe even every day. So we need to teach you something about risks, which are still very important. All the tests should still be based on where's the risk. Yes, you should definitely be a test. If there's no risk, there should not be a test. But in a different way. You cannot do it in advance anymore by starting the program, but you need to be able to continuously assess the risks and determine what to do. So the next thing we will teach you is something about the project. How does the project look like? Who's involved in the project? This is actually an acronym that's trained in the course. and this will help you understand your environment. Besides the environment, there's something else. It's another acronym, and it's called product. This will tell you about the product you are going to test itself. So that's also very important. Of course, you have your environment and you have your product. Then we will teach you something about exploratory testing. Of course, most of you already know all the AU-CPAT testing techniques, but Agile requires some different techniques as well, because there's a lot of things that are uncertain. You need to handle those things as well. There's less documentation, so you need a technique to help you to find the unknowns. And exploratory testing is a technique that will help you do that. And last but not least, we teach you something about test automation. But you need speed, you need to be fast, so you need to automate some of your tests. So that's also, we will not teach you the tools, we will teach you the basic ideas of how to make good test automation. Because there's a lot of tools, and there's a lot of tools training. Selenium United, you can do it there. We will teach you something about what should you automate, how to do it. So that's the last part, and the last big block we call technology skills. Also very important that you need to have technology skills. With technology skills, we do not mean all the tools. You need to have that as well, but those are separate trainings. But we need skills in order to help you run through all these other parts. One of them is like how to determine the risks with a tool called risk storming. And we use this nice Practioner cards with that. This will help you get insight in the risks of the product. Then there's something we call bug hunts. We will teach you about that as well. Bug hunts are a way to find your bugs and share your knowledge about the product with a big group of people. It could be end users or people from the business or even your own team. And we do something we call game perception, which will help you become a better team. So these are four basic areas that we will teach you during the training. Also, I think the next part is really important. This one. The most important other thing is what we were missing. The training needs to be a practical training. So it's not just a theory, it's 3 days, it's not 3 days of just theory. What we do is we do a lot of exercises. And those exercises are built around your case. And those exercises always, we do them like this. First, you get the exercise, you do the exercise. After you've done it, you've probably done it, you get some difficulties with it. We will explain theory behind the exercise, and then you do it again. So then you will learn the most from it by experiencing really what to do. And the whole case is running through the 3-day course. It's also interesting to know we use actual hardware plus software. So it's not some theoretical part. We actually use hardware and software during the training, which makes it really fun and really usable. And the last point that's important, you can use this tomorrow. So everything in the training you will learn, you can use tomorrow. So I think that's the introduction to what CPAT is, how it was developed. So now I want to switch to Bas, who will tell you some more. Bas, the floor is yours.
Hello, I'm Bas. It's a terrible name, except for people in Holland. You can forget about it. You could call me Bas if you want to. And I want to dive into this right away. And I'll ask you a question to get directly to the point of where this particular part is going for. And the question is, what is testing? I'll give you like 30 seconds or so to think about, for example, if you get into a party and someone's asking you what you're doing. Well, I'm a software tester. Well, what do you do? What do you actually do? And well, filling up these 30 seconds, we found that a lot of our colleagues, but also other co-workers, have quite a problem with defining what they're doing. And well, maybe you can put it on chat, so just put it in your mind. What am I doing the whole day? And we get announcements like, well, let me give you an example. I'm checking quality. Well, that opens up a box of Pandora, because then you get a question like, well, what's quality then? And I think we all know that there are huge discussions on what is quality and what is not. Other people are more practical and say, well, I'm searching for bugs, right? And then you have the next problem, of course. What if you don't find bugs? You don't get paid? Well, that's a little bit of a problem. And there are also more reliable definitions like, well, I have to look because I don't memorize that out of head, but it's something like determining whether a software complies to the customer demands. Determining whether the software complies to the customer demands. And often that is a problem because the customer, in practice, often doesn't know what it wants. So we put this question to our colleagues and a lot of co-workers, and they came up with a workable definition, and that is this one. Testing is, maybe I can write this down, it's better. Testing is giving insights, and I hope you can read this because my writing isn't that good. Giving insights on risks, where a risk is a threat to customer value. Value that is related to the particular product. So, I'm breaking my neck on something on the corner. There are two elements here that I want to dive into concerning this definition, and that is risks and customer value. But first, we take risks. Now, I'm not an expert on risks. I think a lot of people aren't while working with risk. There is one company or organization, I must say, who is quite an expert on risk, and that is the Department of Defense in the USA. They need to be right. And they made a scheme which I think is quite marvelous and picks up all elements concerning risks. And we have to take one step back. And the step back we're taking is we consider risks as being things. Well, there are a lot of very intelligent people at the Department of Defense, I presume. I don't know them. But they said, well, there are things we know. Things we know. And then, of course, you can imagine, there are things we don't know. Things we don't know. Now, I can tell you, I would have come up with the same scheme so far, so maybe that's not the big trick. No, the big trick is the layer they laid out with that. They said there are things we know that we know that we know. we know. And those are called, if you think about it a little bit, facts. Like, I know this is a chair, you don't see it, I see it. This is a chair, and it's called a fact. But then there are, of course, things that we know that we don't know. So, I'm not sure if, for example, what's on the street, but I can ask. So the solution to things we know we don't know, which is potential risks, is asking questions. We don't know. We don't know. Questions. If we ask questions and we get the right answers, we transport possible risks here to facts. And that is what we do if we are concerned about risks. Now, the more interesting part is things we don't know. And we have the same layer here. So what are things that we don't know that we know? I'll ponder on that a little bit. What are things we don't know we know? Well, that's called, they call that, I must say, intuition. It's intuition. For example, and it's a very plain example, is you're testing the software and at some point your computer explodes. Well, you don't know what's going on, but you know something's wrong, and that's called, this is a very plain and simple example of intuition. Now, the last part, which is also very important, is of course things we don't know. We don't know. You really have no clue what is going on. You can see this as, well, walking into the night and you're looking for anything that's there, but you have no clue whatsoever. And that, to solve this problem, we use exploration. Now, in our language, these first things we know, and things we know that we don't know, we call them checks, because there are things that we know. We just have to ask all our facts, and then we can bring on like automation or other kinds of approaches that can check those facts. But there is a whole different area that people don't think about much, and that has to do with things that we don't know, like using your intuition or your exploration skills. And those are often addressed to with exploratory testing, for example, or acceptance testing, where you have a lot of people who are just coming in, doing their software thing, and they say like, well, this is shit, or this works just fine. And then we have this, the area, and then we explore this area which we know not of. Now, why is this, and really the last part, or maybe even the questions, why is this important? And this has to do with something that was the risk gap. So, imagine we will start with a new project and you're there for, let's say, a week, 2 weeks, and you know things, right? You know things because you played with the software, you found your first bugs and whatever, and there you have what you know. That's around here. But remember the definition of just throw it away and give an insight on risks, where risk is a threat to the customer value. That means that our basic job is to give insight on all risks, which means we have to know more than that. Probably somewhere around here. If you knew all, you would be a demigod. I presume nobody's watching now who's being a demigod. But at least you have to know enough to be able to close this risk gap. And that's why you have things like asking questions, exploration, and using your intuition. You have to think about gossip from developers, or talking about shaky software, or let's say in production, things go, some areas go wrong the whole time and time again. There should be like little alarm bells telling you to address those with, for example, exploratory testing. Well, maybe we should show this again. This part we call checks because we know what we're doing, and this part we call testing. And we want exploration, and we want to use our intuition to get this information that's somewhere around here, which still vaguely, maybe a pool of sharks that are all threatening customer value, into this area so that we know what we're talking about, and we can address that particular risk or those particular risks. Right, that's a little bit, I think, about risks. Yes, I'm talking to you about risk gap. Come to the second part of the definition, and I hold that up again. This is good for my exercise. Customer value, yes. And I would like to take you back a little bit. When I started testing in 1999, I always think of the Prince hit, but that's not an issue right here. I was having an easy time. It was maybe the summit of the waterfall culture. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that waterfall culture. It had like, let's say, 4 pillars that the culture was based upon. And the first one was that something was good. I take another thing. All this paper. The first one was that the process was holy. You have to follow the process. Now, I'm not sure if everybody is aware of this or does know it, but you have things like Prince 2, and there were big schemes with arrows and boxes, and you had to fill in all these boxes with a lot of documentation or contracts or other kinds of things. And I, as a tester, when I started there, I was part for this big construct, and I had, for example, had to wait for documentation. Well, that was easy, waiting. I could do that. And so the first pillar was process. Process was holy. You had to follow this process. And the process created a lot of documentation. And that was my main clue to do something, right? So the second pillar of waterfall is documentation. If you have this documentation, you can derive your you can analyze it to death, right? And then I have all these logical test cases, and I can fill it with data into physical test data, and I just execute the test, and then I'm done. And I would repeat that time after time. Well, I wasn't very much concerned with contracts, but that was the third pillar. Waterfall method said approach the parties involved sort of like enemies. Right, you had, I've been aware of that, I've seen that a lot of times. You have the software deliverer who wants it to get the most out of it, and you have then the client who wants it to pay less for more software, right? Working software like this. And they were constantly in contract negotiations, declaring each other sort of enemy to get to the maximum of their own situation. So there is contracts all the time. And they were explained until the last detail, right? And it was a project, so you have to have a plan. And that's maybe the fourth and last pillar of the waterfall method. Waterfall. All works according to a big plan. I worked with companies that work like with 3 or 4 year plans to get the job done. Well, did it work? I have numbers here concerning the Dutch society. I'm not sure where in the world, but I think it will be the same. But up to 50 or 60% of these projects failed. That was due to several things, but the part of things were half of the time programs were killed because of contract negotiation that went broken. There there was no collaboration, right? And another big part of the problem was that as soon as the software was ready after 3 or 4 years, it was outdated. People didn't use it anymore. So there were big problems concerning the, here we go, custom value of what was delivered. So Agile arose. Now, what did Agile do in basic terms? They reversed these pillars. They said, no, it is no longer a process that is holy. What is holy is that people will talk together, communicate. Okay. They will work together, and if the process needs to be changed, it will be changed. The process is still needed, but it's not a holy thing anymore. Now, concerning to documentation, for example, you have big files. I remember well, it was the only thing I needed. And they said, no, it's not a target to produce large files of documentation. What is necessary is that we have, oh, here it comes, working software. And I still can remember that I was a little bit shaken because without documentation, what could I possibly do? But working software was the target, and that's quite obvious, isn't it? So the third pillar was, no, we don't do any things anymore. We collaborate. So instead of collaborate, it's not my native language, so I have to search for some words sometimes. We have to collaborate instead of negotiate, right? And the last pillar is, instead of the big plans that took years and then made something that nobody was using, we have to, and that's very important, respond to change. Respond to change. Change. And that brings us a little bit to the Agile mindset. So, yes, so it's quite clear Waterfall didn't do the customer value delivery while Agility wanted to do that. That was the central part, delivering customer value. About Agility, the basics is quite simple. It starts with a mindset, what you can see, and the mindset is you need to be flexible. It's respond to change. It's about delivering customer value every time, every week, or every 2 weeks, or every 4 weeks, preferably every day, right? That is the mindset, and you need to be flexible. If things change, you change. Well, those 4 pillars here, those are the values of Agility. I won't write it again, but these are 4 values where Agility, well, mindset is based on. Now, over course, they created like 12 principles, which I will not address to all of them, but it's a principle like, I don't even know them by head, I wrote those down. It's like you work together, you deliver every time, your delivery must be consistent, we talk together instead of what I was doing in 99. I didn't talk to anybody, it wasn't necessary, etc. There are all principles to make sure that the values are respected and the mindset is taken care of. Well, about those 12 principles and the values and the mindset, you have ways of working. And the most common right now is Scrum, but you have, I still think you have ways of working like extreme programming or Kanban or Crystal Clear, for example. There are all these ways to get these principles, values, and mindsets into a workable container. And well, there's the principles, there are many, but then the last things that are agile practices like gaming or like the artifacts of Scrum, like the 5-minute talk in the beginning, or let's say when you're ready with your month and you talk to each other how everything went. There are endless agile practices concerning agility. And that is, in very short, the basics of agile working. Some view on what should deliver the most customer value, and what I earlier talked about, what risks are entering, and the brilliant mindset of USA. So, and on this, it's back to Carlo again, I think, to address the last and maybe most important point: what does the testing do in an agile environment? It's not what I did in 99. It has become much more than that. And I think the CPAT is, for the main part, giving answer to that particular issue. So, giving back this to Carlo. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.
Thank you, Bas, for this part. We will now switch back to the presentation and we talk about the right screen. Sorry, it starts at the beginning again. We didn't test this, sorry.
You get a quick summary.
Yes, there we are. So, back to testing in an agile context. How does the role of a tester fit in an agile way of working? Because in the past we had documentation, we could create our test cases up front, and then we got the product delivered, and then we could start testing, and we created bugs, and then we gave it back to the developer, and he would fix it or not, and we would test again. And we had waves of time, months maybe, to do it. But that has changed dramatically. So we created a test case based on documentation, but that's not possible anymore because we do way less documentation. We created bug reports that were solved, maybe or maybe not. We didn't even care. And we created test plans and write a lot of documentation. And that, what's the value of doing that? And there was the idea, at least in the Netherlands, that anyone could be a tester. So your first start in IT was become a tester because everybody can do it. Of course, that's not true. Not everyone can do it. This is not the way we work at the moment. So at the moment, we have to give insights in risks and mitigate risks as a tester. We have to prevent bugs. We still have to find them, of course, and let them be solved and learn from, and learn a team also about quality awareness. You have to help them because we're not the only one that influence the quality of the product. And we have to tell the story, what is done, what's not done, and how are we going to do that. So testing dramatically changed in the last couple of years. I will now draw something again. Okay, I'm back. Hi. So we already saw, I will address those last points. The first one, of course, the most important one, is still risks. It's our job. It's a different way, so we have to use different tools to get insight on risk continuously. It's a continuous process to get this not already brought. You know nothing. This is what we know. The facts. And this is what we want to know, and we know it all, which we never will do. And we have to make sure that we cover this part. And the more things we test, the more we know. So this line will move in that direction. As soon as we are here, then that's good. We can go with the product to the customer. And then we decide to do another change. So this line is switched back because there are now new things that we don't know. So we have to do it again. Maybe the line is now here and bring it up to continuously do that. So that's one of the most important things that has changed between what we did in the past. And we made one big product risk assessment at the beginning of the process. And we said, okay, here we're going to define all our risks, and that will be valid until the end of the project. That's not true anymore. You define some risks, which you know here, and they are only valid for the next delivery. So you have to do it again and again, every time, which is good because you can learn from it. And some risks disappear, and there are new risks. And new risks can come from production, can come from all kinds of things that you do. The second thing that's really important for an agile tester is you're not just a tester. You are a person that makes your team quality aware. You're an ambassador for quality. Because most of the team members are, for instance, developers. They are really good at developing and they want to produce something, they want to build something. And they are less interested in quality and thinking outside of the box of what could go wrong. They like to focus on what, how could we make it work instead of what could go wrong. That's quality aware. The tester does have that. So testing is not just something from a tester. It's something from a team that the team will do. If we, for instance, we draw a nice development cycle process, this is the DevOps one, and then we have to different phases like the plan, we build, and we integrate, and we deploy, we operate, and we do something with feedback from production. This is a typical cycle. In this cycle, there's a lot of places where we can do tests. For instance, when we start building, we can do a unit test. Who's to do the unit test? Usually the developer does the unit test, so the developer is already a tester as well. We do integration, maybe here we do something with security, maybe we do something with performance. During integration, we also maybe do for test when we do that's integrated. We can do exploratory testing here. During, for instance, deployment, we can do maybe bug hunts. During operation, we can do tests like A/B test. A/B tests. These are all tests. Some are done by testers, some are done even by users. So we cannot say that the tester is the only one responsible for testing. Everybody is responsible for testing. It depends on what test you do and at which moment you do which test. So it's really important to have this in your strategy. So you need to have a test strategy that points out who does what tests and when are they done and by whom are they done. So that's really important. So now you have your tests. Then the third important thing that's changed between the past and now, what Agile Tester does is telling the test story in an appealing way. That's also important. You have to tell what did you do and what did you not do. Really important also to tell what you didn't do and also why. Why did you do that test and why didn't you do the other one? What were the results of your tests? Not a big report, no, you can tell a story about the results. And very important, your thoughts or maybe your worries about certain things. Maybe things you didn't do because you didn't have the time, or maybe because you just don't have a good feeling about it, your intuition is saying, I'm not sure about that part. You need to tell this, and you also need to be able to tell it in an appealing way. Because like if you went on a holiday and you say, okay, I went to Africa, I saw 3 elephants, we drove it in the jeep, and then I flew home again. That's not really an appealing story of your holiday to Africa. So you have to tell an appealing story in order to get a message to the rest of the team and to the PO or the customers. So that's really important that you are able to tell the test story. That's really different from the past where you just have to deliver a report. And last, skills. as an Agile tester, you need to be able to keep up your skills. So your level of mastery is important. If you don't keep up with your skills, then it will not work. You need to have motivation to do that. Also credibility. That's an Agile tester. But if you have no credibility, they will not believe you. That's really important because you're telling the story and they have to believe what you are saying. You need to be credible. Also, of course, very important, you need the critical thinking skills. Very important to keep those up to date, because you will see that in your team, you will be the person with the most critical thinking skills. So that's, I think, the most important differences between a regular tester in a more waterfall environment and an Agile tester, which will be able to function in short iterations in Agile. So that's will finish my part. And I think now we will switch to Carl, who will say something about Brightest and certification. So Carl, the floor is yours. I'll give you the rights.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. I think I'm going to get I just became the presenter, so I'm going to share my screen now as well. Let me know when you can see. Hopefully everything is working. I will start the presentation here on the current slide. All right. Hopefully, yes, perfect. All right, well, thank you so much for joining today and welcome to the Agile United webinar. If you've joined later as well, I've seen some people joining throughout the whole presentation. Thank you so much to Carlo and Bas for explaining to us a bit about the course and giving us some insights about what it would be like to join the course. My name is Kyle Siemens, and I'm the CEO here of Brightest. And I'm going to tell you a little bit today about our Agile United certification and a few of the others as well. So one sec here. So basically, we're a global exam provider. So we partner based here in Berlin, Germany. We collaborate with local experts and thought leaders throughout the industry and across the globe to create new certifications and also offer the main ones from the leading suppliers. So you may know the big ones like ISTQB, which is focused, of course, on software testing. IFPUG, which is the leader, we're the global exam provider focusing here on function point analysis, and ISAQB, which we are offering now as well in the area of software architecture. The last little one that I'll talk about is the Uniteds. There's a lot hidden behind that word, so we'll get into that right now. Just very briefly, Agile United, there's not so much to say anymore. I think everything's been explained quite well. But what I can say is that basically it's a 3-day course that ends in the certification, and you're not learning here how to test, you're not learning here how to read an Agile pamphlet about the 12 steps, the manifesto. You're going to actually be learning and how to live in the mentality that is Agile as an Agile tester and within your team. So it's quite a different perspective from a lot of other trainings out there. Just one sec. It's not going. There we go. So it's a member of a team of the ones we've launched already. You can see here quite a few. Just to mention a little bit briefly about each one. The Selenium United is about learning how to create a good Selenium code or use Selenium in a good way with either Java or Python. Blockchain United is here focused on Ethereum and how to use that properly. DevOps United is focused on the role of the tester, which is kind of funny because I know that the tester is not necessarily this kind of role that we know as outside of DevOps, but it's basically focused on the role of the tester, someone coming and joining into a DevOps team and how to understand how things are working. Artificial Intelligence United is quite an important one. This one here is focused on AI and also again the role of the tester, so how to do that and to make sure you have the right data to do any AI. We also have the Data and Analytics United, and this one has been created by 3 people also from the Netherlands. And this one is a 2-day course, basically teaching people how to deal with proper data and deal with big data and ensure that you have following all the rules that includes with GDPR and data protection, which is of growing importance. Has always been important, but is of growing importance now that people are actually taking it seriously. So that's really a positive turn. The positive, another one with the Performance Testing United. This is focused, again, a very technical course. So start with the theory of performance testing, what that actually means, but then move quite quickly into the tool of JMeter and be able to do that one. And the last one, which kind of sticks out because the logo is quite different, is the Design Sprint Alliance. And this one here is basically how to run a design sprint in 2 days. A design sprint is only 4 to 5. So when you would be actually running a design sprint, it would be 4 to 5 days. The course is 2 days. And basically, you're not as mentally invested or like you would be as if you were doing a design sprint, which could change the course of your company. So you go through and focus more on the sides of how a design sprint is done rather than actually doing it and getting results. And there are 3 which I'll show very briefly. These ones are in the progress right now. So the Cloud United, API United, and STET United. If you are interested in joining any of these review committees, you can send me an email and I'll let you join there as well. So just to find a little bit about the Agile United, it's the 3-day hands-on intensive course where basic knowledge of software testing and Agile methodology will not be covered, so that's why we have it as a prerequisite. So ISTQB CTFL or CTFL Agile Tester could be beneficial. It's not required, but beneficial. And the full list of business objectives and learning objectives you can find on the website. So there's a successful, for successful candidates, it's also important to know that you will receive a badge from Brightest as well. That's from Acclaim Badging Services by Credly. And this you can share on all of your LinkedIn profiles, Facebook, whichever ones you'd like. You completely make that decision on your own, and it can be verified in real time. So it's a bonus in above and beyond for your certificate. So just a little bit, I'm not going to go through the whole ISTQB today. That would be a long talk all in of itself. But just again, to mention the prerequisites, we're focusing here again on the Certified Tester Foundation level and the Agile Tester extension. You will notice on the top there's also an Agile Technical Tester, but this is already getting quite far in the theory. So these are the 2 main ones that we consider are recommended prerequisites. Now, for Brightest, just a little bit how we work. So we collaborate with many training provider partners around the world. We call them TPPs. You can actually go to our website and find all the different links through the providers. There's a filter to search through them. You can find the ones that are nearest to you. In India, you probably know very well that Verity Software and Verity Training Experts, they are actually one of the main ones that we collaborate with. And so they'll probably be the main go-to for most of you here. For local exams, we have a partner in India, the Indian Testing Board. So they will generally administer the exams a lot for us in India, and we will also then provide a certificate from Brightest together with the Acclaim badge. So just a little bit of my contact information. If you want to send me an email or have any questions about any of the courses or exams that we offer, or just want to say hello, my name again, Kyle Alexander Siemens. My email is kyle@brightest.org. You can write to my team and I at info@brightest.org or check out the website at www.brightest.org. We do also here for our partners that have joined in this webinar. I'd like to give another thanks to the Agile testers, Carlo van Driel and Bas Kruip. You can reach out to them as well. Carlo and Bas, here's their emails and the info. Also with Vinay and Anil for Verity, who are going to be offering the first courses for Agile United in India as well quite soon. They're just finalizing the date. So if you have a team that you would like to have a course created for, you can reach out to Vinay or Anil. And now we get to the fun part. If we have any questions out there from our wonderful viewers. See, I see a few things in the chat here. Some have been sent to me as well. So I have a question here for the Agile testers. If you would be willing to say a little bit about the differences between Scrum and Kanban.
Yeah, Oh, that's interesting. Differences between Scrum and Kanban. I think they are really, there's quite a difference. Both they are, of course, agile ways of working. With Scrum, you have cycles of about 2 weeks in which you decide what will we do next 2 weeks or next week. And you plan it in advance. You have your stories, and you put them on a board, and you work them one by one. And after 2 weeks or 1 week, you release the software. With Kanban, you have the same board where everything is prioritized, but you don't put any days on which you will go live. So you pick item after item, you work it through, and you at some point you decide, okay, now we go live with this part of the functionality we had in the last day, 2 days, week, 2 weeks. So it's a different way of working. It really depends on your organization which will fit the best. So if you have a lot of interruptions, for instance, if you have a product that's already live for a long time, you have a lot of product incidents, then maybe Kanban could be a better way of being agile. If you don't have that, then maybe Scrum will work better for you. But that's the big difference.
Great. And I did receive another one as well. We're getting some private messages sent. Why should I take this course? I think we've gone through this quite a lot, but I guess the real question is here is what makes this course so special?
Yes, that's a good question. Of course, first of all, you will learn a lot of techniques, mindset that are important to do your work as an agile tester. Of course, it's fun as well to do the training. And I think it's really a practical course. Like I said, you can do something with what you learn the next day already at your customer or at your company. I think that's really important, and it will create a tester's mindset in that environment instead of teaching you tricks to do your work.
Great, and I have another. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, sorry.
I have another question here, which I believe I can also take a little bit on. Someone was asking about the exam and how it's set up, and I apologize. I think I flew over that one a little quickly. Basically, the exam is 40 questions, and you need 65% to pass. It's multiple choice. I recommend anyone who's willing on challenging the exam to go to the website agile-united.com or .org, both will take you there. And there is a sample exam which can be downloaded as well as the syllabus. Have a look. You can also see all the training providers that are offering it. If you're in the Netherlands area, of course, I recommend the Agile Testers, or even if you want to have an online course from somewhere else, to reach out to them. And in India, I recommend you reach out to Anil and or Vinay from Verity Software for a quote there as well. So I hope that helps a little bit, but you can take your exams are available on Brightest. You can take them at Pearson VUE test centers. You can take them in your very own home, or you can also take them in a group in your office, either as a paper exam or electronic exam. So I hope that helps there. And any further questions coming in now? I haven't received any more private messages from anyone. How about you, Carlo and Bas?
No, we didn't receive any other questions.
No.
No? All right. No. Any final questions and comments from Verity Software? Of course, I want to say thank you all for joining. There's, of course, a lot more information on the agileunited.com. You can also see 2-minute short videos from the Agile Testers team. They've done, I believe, 6 or 7 already. They're planning to do 8 in total. So you can get a little bit of sneak peek. 12. 12. Okay, well, we're going to go for all 12. So the first ones are already available there as well. So there's a video portion of the landing page, and they all can be found there. And we're also going to put the recording of this webinar so you can see it there as well. Yeah. Any other comments or questions from anyone? I guess we've answered everyone's questions. So
Yes.
there we go. Well, thank you very much, Carlo and Bas, and thank you very much to the wonderful team at Verity Software and Step In Forum for this opportunity, and look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, just send us one of us an email. I can go back again to all that information, and yeah, talk to you all soon.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot, Kyle. Thanks a lot, Carlo and Bas, for that wonderful presentation. I really hope it was really helpful to all the participants, and they would be eager to take up this course once we have the dates out. So you can go to the following websites which have been mentioned there, or you can write to the gentleman whom you see on screen right now, or you can reach out to us for more details. So we will be mentioning the dates. The dates will be out pretty soon on when the next batch will be conducted in India. So with that, big thanks to the participants also, and hope you all have a great weekend and a great week ahead. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Have a wonderful Friday and weekend coming up.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Bas. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for the wonderful webinar.